This is the rough transcript. This is not the complete transcript, to my knowledge. "2:45 p.m. on that Friday, the 7th of June. Miss Love, the reason that I specifically wanted to talk to you is that I have a concern about the representation being made of the representation of Mr. Copeland." Oh, really? Going back to this, ADA Hilton contacted Copeland directly, knowing that the last time they had contact, he was represented by Mr. I want to say Milton, sorry, Melinek. Remember that when we read through this. Because what she should have done is to contact Mr. Melinek. Are you representing Mr. Copeland? Yes or no? She didn't bother to do that. She contacted Copeland directly. She continues to say, "I'm concerned and I'm sort of not. I wanted to just bring it to the court's attention. Mr. Melinek has not conveyed to either Ms. Hilton, myself, or any member of the state that any legitimate concern that he has regarding Kenneth Copeland testifying." That is a lie. That is a lie. Complete fabrication. Mr. Melnick specifically said in email conversation, Melnick, thank you, specifically said in email conversation that he was extremely concerned regarding Kenneth Copeland's testifying. She continues to say, "What we have seen is physical interactions with persons beside Mr. Copeland that would indicate that Mr. Copeland is not Mr. Melnick's primary priority." Here it is, Ms. Love, indicating that Mr. Melnick is violating everything he stands for as an attorney. Every oath he haven't ever taken, the barcode, everything. This is sickening what Ms. Love is indicating here. What we do know is that when the fact that he's willing and wanting to leave, number one. He left twice after the court ordered him to speak with his client. And it would seem his actions convey that it's not Mr. Copeland's best interest that is his priority. Everything here should have been said in front of Mr. Melnick, so he had the opportunity to reply. This is, in my opinion, based on everything we read about the rules regarding ex parte meeting, already here, Judge Glanville should have said, "We need to stop here because you're making statements about Mr. Melnick. He needs to be here to reply to it or in open court." And we already know Judge Glanville wanted to keep all of this a secret until after the trial concluded. Ms. Hilton was out speaking with Mr. Copeland at Mr. Copeland's request at the time that I announced that Ms. Hilton was calling Mr. Copeland. Why was she speaking to Mr. Copeland without his attorney present? At all. At this point in time, they know Melnick is representing Copeland. And at Mr. Copeland's request, prove it. Show the recording, show the text, show the email. Ms. Hilton's word is worthless. What I did not know is that he was trying to tell you to give us a minute because Mr. Copeland was feverishly, and I will let her speak as to how that went down, feverishly trying to get her in there to convey to her something that Mr. Melnick had just said to him that did not come from any of us. What a load of horse shit. The court, as in, the court here is Judge Glanville. The court. What was that, Miss Hilton? Miss Hilton. So let me just put the order of operation. I got up because Deputy Chief Long said, quote, he wants to talk to you. Come out right now. So now we need to hear from Deputy Long as a witness, because that is his statement he made to, allegedly made to Miss Hilton. So when I went into the room, Melnick either came in or came outside. And what Mr. Copeland said, and I think he wanted to get some autonomy, quote, I want to talk to you, quote. He's like, quote, I've already talked to you, but I want to talk to her, end quote. And Mr. Melnick kept like blocking him being able to talk to me. So he was doing his job. So eventually I was like, well, clearly you want to talk to him, so I'll step out and you can come in, end quote. Mr. Melnick spoke to him, and I think he was trying to eat up time because he knew that you were coming out. So by the time I got back in there and he started to talk, that is when everyone said, quote, come on, the judge is waiting, end quote. And that's why he stormed in angry. Miss Love, he being Mr. Copeland. This is... Mr. Copeland stormed in angrily in the judge's chambers? I don't think so. Miss Hilton. Because I think he was trying to convey to me some concerns he had. And so I was trying to have that conversation because Mr. Copeland and I have been having really good conversations since Friday. Like very good conversations. Why are you having conversations with the witness that you are about to call? Now, you can always have not instructing, but proffer, or here is how we want you to testify, not what you're going to testify about. I mean, yeah, so they are talking about Mr. Copeland and conversation with Miss Hilton. This alone makes Miss Hilton a witness. Just not even about the facts of the case, but just life experiences. Oh, really? So I think I was building a report with him such that he thought I lied to him. So I was trying to explain to him, Miss Love, and by that she means today, Miss Hilton, today about what was going to happen. Miss Love, because of what someone conveyed to him. This sounds like they are fishing for attorney-client privilege information. Now, Mr. Copeland can waive that right, but not if they are coercing him into it, in my opinion. Miss Hilton, we believe that something was being conveyed. What happened is, as Mr. Copeland was walking back into the courtroom, Mr. Melnick and Julie would have to, Miss Lancicott would have to confirm this, but he said, quote, they are going to hammer you, end quote. And that made me ask Miss Love, did you say something about hammering him, end quote? And I don't know who. Miss Love, nobody did. I don't trust them. Now, him, and if they overheard Mr. Melnick talking to his client, or were they eavesdropping on attorney-client privilege information? Did they, Mr. Melnick and Mr. Copeland, believe they were out of earshot? Was Miss Love or Miss Hilton eavesdropping? We are on line 15 here. The court, it doesn't make sense. You would say that to him. Miss Love, we never said that. The court, but anyways, okay. Miss Hilton, so whatever that communication was, that's when he stormed in and got angry, and the result I got was what he gave when we started. So at this point, I'm very concerned. Miss Love, he, meaning Mr. Copeland, stormed in and got angry. Miss Hilton, The timing of everything is very ironic. We laid it out on the record earlier about what happened, and I don't believe that Mr. Copeland's best interest is being served at this moment, given that this is so improper. If you believe Mr. Melnick isn't doing what is proper for his client, you need to bring that in as a motion in open fucking court, not in a secret meeting. This is so casual. This conversation is so casual between Love, Hilton, and the judge. I'm very convinced now that they are having out-of-court conversation with the judge. The three of them. I'm very convinced of that. And that there are conversations that will never see the face, that will never see the light of day, because it was never with a court reporter. Mr. Melnick was willing to take a vacation and let him languish in jail. Oh, fuck you! Miss Hilton, you knew the timing of Mr. Melnick's vacation. You have known that for months. And you despicable human being. And that is not, we have communicated that he never wanted Mr. Copeland to go to jail. We don't want him in custody. We don't want any of that to occur. And so Ms. Love continues, and Mr. Melnick has not spoken. He has not relayed. What we did get during the break was an email from Mr. Melnick. I don't know if he had to have been blind copying someone else. The only two people I could see on the email were Ms. Hilton and myself, but he referred to me in the third person and said, these are the communication between myself and Ms. Love. There is no evidence of an email like this. None. Zero. And until Ms. Love presents that specific email with that specific wording, I'm calling her out as a lying liar who lies. So I asked Mr. Melnick, whose interest are you concerned about, your clients or Mr. Steele's and Mr. Shark's? Because prior to, and this is not the first time Mr. Copeland has said, quote, he doesn't represent me, end quote. We don't know that. We only have Miss Hilton's word for it, and we know how unethical Miss Hilton is. This is not the first time Mr. Melnick has, and let me be real clear, when he spoke of what was happening before, him representing Mr. Copeland and he told me that he didn't represent Mr. Copeland. She's lying. That, unless she has it on recording, unless she has it on paper, or email, or text, I think she's lying. Yeah, Heather Marshall says here, Steele already said in court that the state misrepresented the emails. I hope Mr. Melnick brings the actual emails. Here's the caveat. If emails, that will be hard, because if we can't bring emails between him and Woody, but him emailing Ms. Love and CCing some of the defense attorneys, that he can bring in. But yeah, I believe this is a lie. The court, Mr. Melnick told you? Ms. Love, yes, Mr. Melnick told me previously that he wasn't representing him. Remember? Didn't they? Yeah, this is a lie. I believe. The court, you would not speak to an unrepresented party. I mean, I know you know enough of the rules to know that if you thought or intimated that somebody was represented by counsel, you would go ahead and let them contact that lawyer. Miss Hilton, or Mr. Copeland would have said, because I don't know as a witness, because he's not charged. If we would have had to, Mr. Love, right, because he's not charged, the court. I don't think you have to because there's no pending charges. But if he told you, quote, I got a lawyer, I don't want to talk to you, Ms. Love says, we would have left. No, we already know that Ms. Hilton contacted Mr. Copeland despite knowing. Again, I've said this before, I will say it again. She contacted Mr. Copeland knowing that the last contact she had with Mr. Copeland, Mr. Melnick was representing him. That makes her required to talk to Melnick first. The court, because people counsel that they have under retainer or something else, or they say, court, hey, I got a lawyer that I use for everything and I want to talk to him. I'm not comfortable talking to you unless my lawyer is present, end quote. Ms. Hilton, we have done that with a number of our witnesses here, so this would have been no different. Ms. Love, exactly, and we would have, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. Ms. Hilton, no, go ahead, that was it. Ms. Love, we actually communicate, especially when either they are incarcerated or subject to having their sentence revoked as a result of the testimony because they pled guilty here. We only reach out to them through their attorney because we want their attorney to speak to them, and for that to be, because that's the best way, in our opinion, to get a report that elicits truthful testimony. Bull crap. Bull crap. Bull crap. We know they contacted Mr. Copeland directly, not through Mr. Melnick. We already know that. It's on the record. She continues, so in this particular instance, there was not that, number one, there was not that communication made by Mr. Copeland that there was ever a need for that. And two, there was not a need for us to be concerned about it because it doesn't have charges. Ms. Hilton explained to him at length that whatever happened that he did in 2015, which is all we're going to be talking to him about, the statute of limitations has run. He didn't do the murder. We know that. How do you know that? He was never investigated as the possible murderer. Yet, he has strangely really good information and motive to pin it on somebody else. MG Law says, doesn't matter if he's charged or not. If he has counsel, then she can contact him directly without prior authorization from that attorney. Exactly. She continues, I mean, so I don't want to get into the facts of anything. What I'm trying to get at is the fact that Mr. Copeland, I believe Mr. Melnick has inserted himself in a way that jeopardizes the best interest of our witness. Ms. Love, you have absolutely zero right to represent interest of a witness. Zero. Absolute zero. She continues, I believe that in conveying to the court that Ms. Bumpus is going to stand in his stead, Ms. Bumpus she was, what is the word I'm looking for? The sheriff had to speak to her because she was in the courtroom trying to hug Jeffrey Williams. Ms. Hilton, no, she hugged Diamante Kendrick. Ms. Love, I'm sorry. In fact, she hugged Diamante Kendrick and hugged Mr. Williams, and that's how Captain Kendall saw her. And Captain Kendall had her taken out. I don't know if that's happened or not. I have no idea. But since we caught numerous lies already, I don't take it out of the possibility they are lying about Miss Bumpus as well. Miss Love, she expressed dismay and concern in challenging her right to go interact in that manner with the defendants. So our concern is that it is not Mr. Copeland's best interests that are being represented. File a fucking motion. Make a bar complaint. Don't do the whisper game with a judge in a secret ex parte meeting. And that not only is that the case with respect to Mr. Copeland, who we have no interest in prosecuting. Of course you haven't. He lies for you. Who we have no interest about. But there is a tampering of sorts going on in this person inserting himself where Mr. Copeland has been reaching out to speak to Ms. Hilton, and that communication is being blocked by someone Mr. Copeland didn't reach out to. Now they are accusing Miss Bumpus for tampering. Folks, that is a crime. And if they can't substantiate that, that is defamation per se, possibly. You notice no one said Mr. Copeland called me. Doesn't have to. He never said, when we put on the record, when Miss Hilton said, quote, the way I understand it, Mr. Melnick reached out to Mr. Copeland, end quote. Because the first time we heard an assertion like, quote, oh, he's going to plead the fifth, end quote, is when Mr. Melnick sent an email to Ms. Hilton and myself and had copied on it Mr. Steele and Mr. Short last night. Last night in this context is June 6th, before Mr. Copeland took the stand. Which means they knew he was going to plead the fifth. And that is why they ran to the judge Friday morning to get that immunity thingy. The court. Why would he have done that given Miss Hilton? And that's the state's concern, Miss Love. That's the point. The court. But here is the challenge. The challenge is you have privileged communications. And unless you got him being the client, disclosing to a third party that wouldn't be subject to the privilege. That is the only way you're going to. Now they are debating tactics in this ex parte meeting. This right here, the highlighted thing, is giving the prosecution an unfair advantage. Ms. Love, I don't disagree with that at all. But if Mr. Melnick, and the thing that got me the most is Mr. Melnick is not looking at Mr. Copeland saying, quote, you know, Mr. Copeland, I want you to stay out of jail and I will be here with you. You have absolutely zero right to make this argument. Zero. And if they ask me anything that touches upon something that you and I talked about, I will stand up and assert your right, end quote. He didn't do that. What he did was looked over at the two people and said, like, quote, I did what I could, end quote. Oh, this is... Shrugged his shoulders, held up the palm of his hands like this, and as to say, I tried, end quote. That shoulder shrug never happened. We checked, me and Captain Williams, we looked at it. That never happened. Again, they are lying to Judge Glanville, making false assertions over and over and over again in this ex parte meeting. There is no reason he would be looking to the right to counsel for the defense like, quote, I tried, end quote, after Mr. Copeland said he was going to testify. That doesn't make sense. This is so appalling. The court. Well, there's a lot of innuendo that they have asserted themselves. They, being some of the defense counsel, have inserted themselves in this particular process, and that's what... This sounds really close to a ruling or a finding a fact which neither of the defense attorneys were present in order to defend themselves. This is highly improper. Highly improper. Ms. Love, my concern is Mr. Melnick's insertion of himself. The court. What are you asking me to do? What are you asking me to do? And what do you think that I can do? Why is he asking her that? Why is he asking for advice from her in a secret ex parte meeting? That is the exercise. That is the homework for tonight. Are you fucking kidding me? Miss Love is giving Judge Glanville homework. She continues, I wanted to let the court know that that is what we're looking into right now, because there is a remedy, because I have faith in our law. I love this thing. And I know there is a remedy, because this can never have been the first time this happened. It has been addressed. I just have to find it. Oh, you harlot. But I didn't want to be looking for something and not let the court know what I'm looking for, so you are not, so that you are caught off guard when Monday morning or Saturday night or Saturday afternoon we find it and send it to you. Are you kidding me? This is so improper. How can Judge Whittaker look at the transcript and not throw this case out? The fuck? The court. Okay. Ms. Love, so thank you for allowing us to audience with the court. I just wanted to make certain that we did it properly and we have everything on the record. This is so not proper. It is our witness. We have conveyed to him that he is shielded from prosecution for anything that he talks about on the stand and any use of that. False on its face. He can be prosecuted. They cannot just, the only thing on federal level or local level, the only, because they use immunity, which is a weirder kind of immunity, they can still prosecute him. They just can't use the information he conveyed on the stand. They can still prosecute him if the crimes haven't the statute of limitation. And the thing is that we won't ask him that, but this is what he said. Y'all might not, but they might ask me about some things that I have asserted my right on, and that will be a question by question basis. What he's being influenced to do, we believe, by Mr. Melnick, and it's through Mr. Melnick because, as you saw, Kenneth Copeland said, quote, I will testify. Mr. Melnick, even after that, said he's asserting his fifth. I'm going to go talk to him. Logically, one would think that as long as Mr. Melnick's concerns about Kenneth Copeland's freedom, legal freedom, and his exposure, as long as those were addressed, Mr. Melnick should be saying, quote, I am here with you. If there's something that I know will put you in jeopardy, I will stand up and stop you. But right now, I would rather you stay out of jail, end quote. Again, this is... No. Instead, you get Mr. Copeland, and you can see it through his body language. He gets there in court, and he's smiling as if making a show of being taken into custody after this. And the man don't want to be in jail. He said it. Didn't he say he don't want to be in jail? Miss Hilton, that's his biggest fear? No. Miss Love, that's his biggest fear, and now he's in jail after Mr. Melnick asserted himself in this process. Mr. Melnick is Copeland's lawyer. That is not inserting themselves. That is you trying to exclude Mr. Copeland's lawyer. So we have to figure it out. I'm not just laying it in your lap saying, go fix this. I'm just bringing this to the court's attention. This is a grave concern. Ms. Hilton, she is about to lose her mind because her biggest concern is that Mr. Melnick is actively harming a human being. And that's what she is maddest about. Oh, screw you. I'm mad because it is stopping our trial. And it's wrong. And that is not how the law is supposed to work. You, Miss Love, shouldn't be doing law at all. At all. So we have two big old grave concerns that we are working to remedy right now. again, this is something that should have been argued with defense counsel, or at least Mr. Melnick present. The court. Okay, well, like I said, I think that you brought your concerns to me. Without more, I don't know what else I can kind of do in terms of that. My comments today were predicated on there's a lot of stuff that's going on in the background, and it shouldn't have to do with anything with you all's case. It really shouldn't. But I think it does in some way outside agitators. That too. And everybody else who think I'm trying to, who I think are trying to influence. That is absolutely happening. Miss Hilton, there's a lot going on. Miss Love, there's a presence. Yes, that is all I'll say. Now they are trying to avoid getting things on the record. The court, but I see it from just being in the courtroom and tracking. But okay, if you find anything, we'll see where Monday leads us. And I said, since we now know he's going to potentially invoke, we'll see what his pleasure is. And Miss Love, just the idea of someone sitting in jail throughout this trial, but if that's what he's being counseled to do and that's what he does, that's just wrong. It's wrong because a member of the bar is, in my mind, creating that circumstance. They are actually blaming Mr. Melnick for this. They are so mad they didn't get away with having circumvented Mr. Melnick. They are so mad they are blaming Mr. Melnick for all of this. This is narcissism on its face. They really don't believe they can do wrong. They believe themselves to be the epitome of judicial knowledge. And we know just by looking at this trial how absolutely fucked up their interpretation of law, justice, and due process is. She continues, he's going to do what the person he trusts to have his best interest at heart tells him to do. And that person, he doesn't have to tell us what he's concerned about and can just sit there. And when he sees the train coming, stand up and say stop, but he's got a vacation to go on, so he can't be there. Again, you knew this was scheduled, his vacation. You knew. And today, remember, or yesterday, they asked, can we please switch so that Miss Hilton won't be questioning Mr. Copeland because Miss Hilton is going on vacation? You absolute hypocrite. They continue. So Miss Bumpus is going to be here. Miss Bumpus, hugging Mr. Kendrick and Mr. Williams, is going to be here representing the interest of Kenneth Copeland, who's supposed to testify against Mr. Kendrick and Mr. Williams. GD asks, Nick, doesn't this appear that they have been doing this for years? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. That is where we are. That doesn't pass a smell test. You don't pass a smell test, Miss Love or Miss Hilton, because you reek of garbage and vomit and puss and everything. The reason why you don't see something passing the smell test is because your nose is too close to your mouth. The court, all right, okay, Miss Love, thank you. And that is the end of that rough transcript. These two secret ex parte meetings, folks, shows corruption.